Hi, Michael.
Hi.
So today's question is, you were saying the other day that in the face of this type of situation, the one we have now with the virus, the pandemic and so on, we have to understand that dream hunger requires dream food. But to what extent does the belief that something can hurt us not strengthen and reinforce the fear and belief of being a body? Wouldn't it be better to adopt an attitude that wouldn't validate everything that the mind tells us, so we would simply remain oblivious to all that?
According to Bhagavan, our present state is just a dream. So everything that we experience in this state is just a part of this dream. The person we seem to be is also a part of this dream. So whatever actions we do, or whatever actions we seem to do, are actions done by body, speech, and mind, which are part of this person. Since this person is a part of the dream, the person should act in accordance with the seeming reality of the dream. So, for example, if we think, oh, this is all a dream, I don't have to do anything. There's no point even of eating because it's all just a dream. We're going to starve. Obviously, the actions have consequences. Of course, we can't do anything we can't experience anything that is not already in our destiny. But it seems to us that by doing certain actions, we produce certain results. If I've got no food in the kitchen, if I go down to the supermarket and buy food and bring it back, there will be food in the kitchen. We seem to be within the realm of cause and effect, and we seem to have a choice over what actions we do. So this is not the absolute truth. This is only a seeming reality, but all that seems to be real, it's all on the same level of seeming reality. So this coronavirus is as real as whatever actions we do. So since we're in this situation where this virus is there and it's spreading rapidly all over the world, obviously, according to the seeming reality of this dream, it's beneficial to try and limit the spread of this, or at least limit the speed at which it is spreading. So we take precautions. We are told to stay at home, to practice social distancing, to wash our hands. These are all precautions, but will slow it down. That isn't saying any of this is real, but according to the relative to the seeming reality of this dream, all these things are equally seemingly real. What we have to understand is the difference between our external behavior and our internal attitude. Internally, we should be detached from all these things. Externally, we have to act appropriate to the situation we find ourselves in. So, I mean, this coronavirus is one example, but there are so many examples that can be cited. We have to behave appropriately in this world. When there's a lot of traffic on the road, we don't just walk out in front of the traffic, because we know if we do so, we'll be hit by some passing vehicle. If we're in company with other people, we talk things that are appropriate to that company. We don't start saying things that are going to cause offense to others. So many things we act in this world as if this is real. And another thing is, as a spiritual aspirant, we should always be trying to live a low-key life. We shouldn't try and stand out in the crowd. So we have to try and blend in with the background, because the spiritual practice is nothing to do with external actions. Okay, there are some actions that people associate with religion, but there's a difference between religion and spirituality. Spirituality is entirely internal. So just because you go to church or mosque or temple or synagogue or whatever, doesn't, you may be very religious, you're not necessarily very spiritual. So spiritual is something completely internal. So the work we have to do is internal work. The external world can, we behave in the external world appropriate to the situation according to our circumstances in this world. So, but we always have to remember this distinction between what is going on inside and what is going on outside. Outside, we just try to keep a low profile. Inwardly, we are trying to detach ourselves. Now, the problem is not whatever actions we do by mind, speech, or body. The problem is the fact that when we rise as ego, we take this person consisting of this mind, speech, and body, we take this person to be I. So whatever actions this body is doing, now this body is sitting. So I am sitting. My mouth is talking, so I am talking. My mind is thinking what to say next, so I am thinking. We identify ourselves with all these things. That is the problem. It is the identification with these things. That identification we cannot avoid so long as we rise as ego, because the very nature of ego, as Bhagavan said, the ego is nothing but the false awareness, I am this body. This body doesn't mean just the physical body, the whole package consisting of 5 sheaths, the body, life, mind, intellect, and will. All these, this fivefold package is the person we seem to be, and what Bhagavan refers to as body. So that when we are aware of ourselves as I am this body, we cannot avoid the sense of doership. Even if we're doing nothing, even if we're just lying in bed having a lazy day, I am lying in bed being lazy. So we identify ourselves with so the problem is this identification with the body and mind. This is what has to be what has to be eradicated, this false identification. That cannot be eradicated by any external action or by avoiding any external action. It can only be eradicated by turning our attention within, ignoring the external world. So yes.
Sorry, I was reading something you wrote yesterday. I mean, something I read yesterday about something you wrote, and it hit me that something that you said that related to this topic with the virus and so on. And it was something like, I'm not paraphrasing, but something of the sort, that you don't have to detach from anybody, from the world, from the situation. You just have to detach from the person you seem to be, and that's enough.
Yeah.
So okay. Any attitude towards getting detached from anything external is also part of the outward facing world. I mean, it's something that you take. Yes. So it's all an inner thing.
Yes. Well, of course, when we detach ourselves from the person we seem to be, we thereby detach ourselves from everything else. But we need to focus on the root, because there are many. That is, in most religions, there's the it's accepted. Certain people take to a path of renunciation. They become a monk or a sannyasi or whatever. That is taken to be renunciation. Bhagavan said that is not real renunciation. Real renunciation is internal. It's according to your destiny, you may be a monk or a sannyasi, or you may be a married person. That has nothing to do with it. It's inwardly we have to detach ourselves. So, and even if supposing we become a monk or a hermit or something, we're still not detached from the world. Even the hermit living in his cave, keep isolating himself from everyone else, still needs food, clothing, something to keep him warm in the winter. So we cannot sever our connection with this world so long as we take this body to be I, because this body is part of the world. Inevitably, whether it happens to be a hermit living in a cave in the Himalayas, or a businessman, or a teacher, or a president, or whatever it may be, it's part of the world. So it's inwardly, but Bhagavan wants us to focus on the root. The root is ego. It's ego that makes us feel, because we have risen as ego, we are aware of ourselves as I am this person. And all troubles flow from that. So outwardly, we have to act appropriately. Going back to this example of the coronavirus, we have to act appropriately. We have to take all reasonable precautions, both to safeguard the person we seem to be, but more importantly, also to safeguard others. So we have to act like that. But the question is, but to what extent does the belief that something can hurt us not strengthen and reinforce the fear and the belief of being a body? If we shouldn't be acting out of fear. We should be acting because this is the appropriate thing to do. If we are to get infected with coronavirus, if that is our destiny, we will get infected. If it's our destiny just to have a mild illness, we'll just have a mild illness. Or we may be asymptomatic if that is our destiny. Or we may get a severe illness, or we may even die. That's all according to destiny. We cannot change that at all, whatever we do. So it is not out of fear of getting sick or dying that we're doing these things. We're doing it because that is the appropriate thing to do. Just like it's not because of fear that we don't walk out into the middle of the street. It's just the sensible thing to do when there's a lot of traffic. But we shouldn't. How fear arises is when we think too much about these things, when we cling too much to what we have. Now this virus, it has turned everyone's life upside down. And we don't know how long this is going to continue. It may continue for months or for years. After this is over, the world isn't going to be the same place. Many people will have lost their jobs. People may have lost money. They may have lost their business. So many changes are going to be, and people's attitude will be changed. Because in the Western world, we have lived for a long time without any major catastrophe. Most of us, even someone of my age, I'm now in my 60s, mid-60s. I've never been in the midst of a war. I've never been in the midst of a famine. I've never been in the midst of a pandemic like this. This is all, it is extremely rare. If you look back at history, I mean, when in history has the world been free of war or famine or epidemics or these things? It's all part of life. We have been lulled into a false sense of security. And with all our modern medicine and all our technology and everything, we somehow think we're immune to these things. So this is a big wake-up call to all of us. But we just need to recognize these things. We need not cling to our old way of life or be afraid of what is to come. We just have to go with the flow. Let all this all according to Bhagavan, whatever happens is according to destiny. And he said in his note to his mother, what is never to happen will not happen, whatever effort you make. And what is to happen will not stop, whatever obstruction is made. This is certain. Therefore, being quiet is best.
Don't you think that sometimes, from the perspective of the ego, that detachment you were talking about can take the shape of rejection, in the sense of, oh, I have to isolate myself, or I have to renounce to these things, or whatever. That a fine line between that.
Yeah, that is a wrong understanding. That's why Bhagavan's teachings in many ways are very, very revolutionary. Bhagavan has simplified the spiritual path and made it very clear and straightforward. All these external renunciations, it may happen if it's according to your destiny. If it's your destiny to be married and to have 10 children, you cannot avoid that. If it's your destiny to be a monk or to be a hermit sitting in a cave, you cannot avoid that. That's all according to destiny. That we need not be concerned about these things. Because what is this life after all? It's just a passing dream. Nothing ultimately matters. What is required is the internal detachment. And that is why, coming back to this question, to what extent does the belief that something can hurt us? Firstly, we shouldn't think this coronavirus can hurt us. What is the worst thing that can happen from coronavirus? We can die. But what is death? It's just the ending of one dream. And so long as we have attachments, another dream will come and the cycle will go on. So nothing can actually hurt us. Things seem to hurt us because if I have a desire for a certain thing and I'm deprived of that, that will hurt me. Or if I have a fear of something and I want to avoid it and I can't avoid it, that will hurt me. The cause of the hurt is our likes and dislikes. If we were free of likes and dislikes, if we had no desires or attachments, no hopes or fears, nothing could hurt us. What strengthens our and reinforces our fear and the belief that we're our body, the causes are within us, not outside. So let the outside life go on according to destiny. Inwardly, learn to be detached. And the most effective way to learn to be detached is to practice self-investigation. Because the more we turn our attention within, the more we are thereby letting go of other things.
Mm-hmm. Yes. This question, I think that can also come from, or for some people, it might come from the sense of that anything I do or is reinforced in this ego. I mean, from the moment I wake up, I open my eyes in the morning, I do. It can reinforce the sense of being an ego, identifying with a role or whatever, and go into self-loathing for that because it's inevitable.
Yes.
And
yes, that's true. Because whatever we do, who is doing it? Right? It's body, speech, or mind, but it's ego who says, "I am doing this." So.
Sorry, even adopting the attitude of, okay, I'm going inward, and I'm going to try. That can reinforce the ego too. I mean,
no, if you're just thinking I'm going to go inwards, that may reinforce the ego. But if you go inwards, but this is a unique law of nature. But Bhagavan has, well, I mean, it is a law of nature. But Bhagavan is the first one who has explained it so explicitly. The nature of ego is it rises and stands by attending to things other than itself. And the more it attends to things other than itself, the more it flourishes. That's what he says in verse 25 of Uludunaptu. Grasping form, it comes into existence. Grasping form, it stands. Grasping and feeding on form, it flourishes. Such is the nature of this formless phantom ego. But in the same verse, he also says, Tedinal otum pidicum. That means if sought, it takes flight. So that means the nature of ego is to be strengthened by attending to anything other than itself. But if it attends to itself, it begins to subside and dissolve back into its source. So it's if we're just thinking, oh, I'm going to turn within, I'm going to do self-inquiry, that isn't doing so. When we stop thinking and turn our attention back to ourselves, who is it who wants to turn within? Who is it who wants to do self-inquiry? That is, when we actually put it into practice, ego will subside unfailingly, because such is the nature of ego. Ego cannot stand without grasping other things. So the more we as ego try to grasp ourselves, the more we will subside. This is the most fundamental principle of Bhagavan's teaching, the very cornerstone of his teachings. This is what hasn't been revealed in any ancient text so clearly and explicitly as Bhagavan has revealed it.
Yeah, that's the present.
If we want to understand Bhagavan's teaching, this is the first thing we need to understand. This is the principle on which all other principles are based.